So there's a shift that's happening in business and in culture, but this is really going to impact businesses. And for the last 20 years, what you've really had is a bunch of businesses that have really become, there's two central problems. One, business has become just about money. And money is not a bad thing. I am not anti-money, anti-capitalist, far from it. I think people should be paid very well for the work that they do and the stuff that they create. But what's happened is that you've had money come and be the number one central, most important thing that every decision is being based on how is this going to affect the bottom line. And what people don't understand is there's the energy affects the bottom line. What do I mean? If you had a company that was born out of this place of authenticity, right? The four highest frequencies are love, joy, peace, and authenticity. Some call it enlightenment. But when you have companies that are born out of that, and the number one objective is to do right by the customer, take care of the customer, making awesome products or services for the customer, you're going to make money hand over fist because you're connected to the four highest frequencies. You love your customers, you're at peace with your business and how it runs, and you trust everything to work out. You're doing business your way. But instead, what's happened is you've had a bunch of people that have come and everything is based on the bottom line. And when you do that, you choke the life out of things. There's a hedge fund that bought a really popular Canadian company. And they didn't understand the soul of this company. This company was huge in Canada. It's on the decline now. And what happened was this brilliant Brazilian company bought this Canadian company. And right away, they sold the coffee recipe that this company had. And they sold it to a competitor, and they sold it to make money. But what they didn't understand was they had sold the very soul of the company, because the whole thing that drove the business was the coffee. So when they sold the coffee recipe, people started going elsewhere because now the number one thing that people went there for, it wasn't the same. The coffee wasn't as good. And they sold the coffee to a competitor. And what's happening is that people are starting to wake up because they're realizing the food system is... Most business is being created out of fear and being run out of fear. It's being run on, are we going to make enough money? It's tuned into a frequency of fear. So when you have a business that's tuned into a frequency of fear, it will never survive. It can't. And you're having this mass awakening that's happening right now where people are going, wait a second. We should eat organic food and organic meat and eat from sources where the animals are taken good care of and are loved and are fed good food. And for so long, there's been this race to the bottom of how can we cut costs, not thinking how it's going to impact the customer, the consumer, any of this. And this is very quickly shifting. And what you're going to see is people paying significantly higher prices for better products, better food, better services, because they're going to go to the people that are tapped into love or joy or peace or authenticity, where they're doing business their way and how they want to deliver it. And for so long, there have been people that are terrified. Okay, so here's the other problem. So the first problem is that all business basically has been about money is the central focus. It has to be about something else. It has to be about a passion for something, a love for something, a business that truly brings you joy. And then you have to charge appropriately for it. Most people charge so they don't go out of business. They don't charge in equal value exchange. So this is another problem. So I guess there's three. When you're doing business, it takes a certain amount of energy to produce your service or your product. You're aware in your subconscious what that level is, the energy that goes out. And so for most people, they're charging way less energy than what they're giving out. And then eventually this is leading to burnout and decay because people are so in survival mode. They're tapped into that fear frequency. So when they're tapped into that fear frequency, they're terrified of raising their prices, and they don't love themselves. So because they don't love themselves, they don't look after themselves. And because they don't look after themselves and charge what they really need to charge in order for their souls to be happy, their businesses decline because they can't keep up. They're burned out. They're not getting an equal energy exchange. And so you need people who are doing business from a place of love, peace, joy, and authenticity, and who are charging a fair amount. Everything's energy. Okay, so money is energy, work is energy, food is energy, we are energy. Everything is energy. So you need to have this awareness of, okay, this is how much energy I'm putting out. This is how much energy I need to get back. And what's happened in the marketplace for so long is you've had so many people where it's just been this continual race to the bottom. How are we the lowest priced? And there are some people that are paying for the premium option, but you're going to see more and more people paying for the premium option because they're starting to love themselves. I'm not religious, but there's this saying in the Bible that, you should love your neighbor as you love yourself. The problem with that is that most people don't love themselves. But you're going to see this huge awakening where people are going to start to love themselves, and you're going to see this huge demand. And I know because I'm in the middle of this, where there's been this huge shift in my life where I'm wanting to connect with nature, and I'm wanting to be peaceful, and I'm learning to love myself. And because I love myself, well, now I want to eat the best food possible. So I'm eating like all organic meat, organic fruit, and I'm buying from sources where, the animals are taken care of and treated well and not put in stress states. And with business, people are tired of stuff that has no substance, stuff that has no soul, which leads us to another problem. People complain about these mega corporations. The mega corporations aren't essentially the problem. They're a byproduct of another problem. What's happened is that we've all been given the power to create wealth. And as humans, we're very creative beings. And so we're designed to create. But because people don't love themselves and they're so tapped into fear, what they're doing is going, I need a job. And a job is not a bad thing, okay? But if you have a job, it needs to be the right job and something that actually ignites your soul so that your soul is happy. Because so many people are dying. Gay Hendricks covers this really well. So many people are dying because they're not pursuing things that set their souls on fire. People are living in fear. They're in survival mode. And when you're doing that, your soul is miserable. So when your soul is miserable, the energy fields that your body produces, they start to shrink. And you start to take on stress and anxiety, these things that we were never designed to live in, especially long term, and your energy fields start to be depleted. So the frequency level in your body starts to deplete over time. And then that leads to sickness, which eventually leads to people dying. And Gay Hendricks told this story about somebody who had come to see him. And Gay Hendricks talks about these different levels that people operate on. And I think one is your zone of incompetence. One is your zone of competence. I think those speak for themselves. Another is your zone of excellence. And then the last one is your zone of genius. And so your zone of genius is where, like, you were made to do this thing. So, for example, for years, I ran a YouTube channel where I talked to people about stuff that I don't talk about anymore. And I was operating probably in my zone of competence, not even my zone of excellence. And it wasn't that comfortable, and it didn't set my soul on fire. But because I was in this place of just survival mode for so long, I lived there because I was like, well, I have to do this. I wasn't tuned into anything else. But when you start to love yourself, and you really start to love yourself, and you start to get peaceful inside, and you start to think about joy, and it's like, what would I really find joy in doing in my life? What would I really enjoy doing? And that's why I made a shift to do what I'm doing now, because just became so aware of like, well, this is my zone of genius and this is what's going to bring me joy. Anyways, Gay Hendricks, he had this guy come to him who was seemingly in really good health. His wife, the guy's wife, was a yoga instructor and very active, nothing to suggest this guy was going to die anytime soon. And Gay Hendricks talked to this guy about entering his zone of genius. So they figured out what it was, what his zone of genius was. And then Gay Hendricks tried to encourage this person to enter their zone of genius and start working on it like an hour a day, I think it was. And this person said, yeah, I'm going to try. Gay Hendricks knew this person wasn't going to try. And that same person died 3 weeks later from a massive heart attack. And I'm going, well, yeah, it's obvious. He died because he wasn't happy because he wasn't operating in his zone of genius. So what's happened is you've had so many people that are living in these places of fear, stress, anxiety, shame, all these low frequencies. They're in survival mode, so they're not doing or pursuing something that would really actually bring them joy. And so when people are doing things that don't bring them joy, their souls suffer as a consequence of that. And there are so many people that have these dreams and desires of, I want to do this and I want to have this business and I want to create this thing, but they're not doing it. So in the interim, you've had these mega corporations who have come up, and I'm not saying they're bad, but people can feel like, okay, something's off here. The thing that is off is that so many people are not stepping into the things that they love, they desire, and they have passion about. There are so many businesses that are waiting. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think this mass awakening is happening. And I think you're going to see people step into what they love and enjoy doing. And you're going to see so many new businesses pop up. And instead of people dealing with like the mega corporation, they're going to deal with the person who clearly their soul is on fire with joy doing this thing, like the product or the service. They're going to buy from that person because the passion is infectious. And it's this change that needs to happen. There's so little desire or passion or excitement in the marketplace, and everything just starts to feel bland when that happens. The key to entering this, though, is to start to love yourself. And if you start to love yourself, most people are just trying to give all the time. And they lose sight of themselves and they lose themselves. And so right now, I'm at this place. I really love going walking. It's a trail, and I'm loving coming and just being in nature, connecting to nature. I used to think that the hippies were weird, and I used to think people that hug trees were weird, and now none of that seems weird to me. Being in harmony with nature, being in harmony with the land, being in harmony with oneself. I'm like, I get it now. And I get up at 5:30 in the morning or 5 in the morning, and all I'm wanting to do is sit outside, go outside, be in nature, and just be peaceful and connect to nature and sit in that peace so that I can, it's just like so filling to do. And I'm at this point in my life now where I'm meditating consistently daily, and I'm eating good organic food, and I've cut out all refined sugar, any oils that I think are bad for me. Like, I've made this huge, massive overhaul, and people are like, well, it must all be awesome. Well, the detox process is not super fun, but I understand the benefit of making this shift, and I'm making this shift because I love myself. Because I love myself, I want to eat the best possible food. And because I love myself, I want to make changes in my life, and I want to be selfish in order to be selfless. What do you mean by that? Most people are so busy doing things for other people that they totally neglect themselves. So, for myself, I take care of myself first thing in the morning before I do anything for anybody else. So I'm going outside, I'm being in nature, I'm peaceful, I'm meditating, I'm doing my workout, I'm journaling if I need to, I'm sitting in my sauna, I'm doing all this stuff before I check my phone, check my email, ask if I can do anything for anybody else. And my wife and I have both made this shift where before we're doing anything for each other, we're doing stuff for ourselves first. Why? Because I love myself. And because I love myself, I can love other people. But you have to do it in that order where you love yourself first. And you're not doing it to be selfish. You're being selfish to be selfless. If you have nothing in your cup and you have nothing to give and you're not pursuing the things that really excite you and you love and ignite your soul and that really truly bring you joy, you're miserable. You're not happy. What benefit are you to anyone else, to your spouse, to your kids, to the people that you work with, to the company that you run? You're of no benefit to any of these people because you're in this state of low frequency. And so you can make that change. You can make a change today. And I want to share my process and my journey, and I've had this major shift even in my business where I've had this awareness of I want to do this. And so I'm going to be doing a lot more videos on here about businesses and building like cultures for teams and businesses, and that's my zone of genius. And it's something that I've suppressed for a long time because for some reason I didn't feel good enough. And I was reading Gay Hendricks' book, and there's 4 main things that he talks about where it's like people usually have one of these 4, if not, 2 or 3 of the 4 problems that keeps them from really having this big leap in their life. And for me, this one revolved around thinking that I was somehow defective. Ever since high school, I've been fat. I've been overweight, and I always thought it was just food related. And for a long time, I would eat better, but I would still feel miserable and I would still gain weight. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And it led me through this process of understanding there's more to it than just the food. And I've started to realize that I have not pursued what I really want to pursue in terms of business, the things that I really, truly desire to do, the stuff that I'm like, 100% I know this is my area of genius. And it's affected me physically and mentally and emotionally. And when I read in Gay Hendricks' book about the guy that died from the heart attack, I'm like, I don't want to be that guy. But I can feel how it's affecting my physiology because I haven't stepped into this thing that I like. I'm reading this book about Bill Walsh. I'm a nerd and I'm kind of weird. I don't like a lot of fiction books right now. I don't even really want to watch TV aside from maybe Oilers games. That's only because it's my team. Because I'd rather have the peace and connect with my wife and spend time talking or reading or creating or just... I don't even want to watch TV anymore for the most part. I just want to create and do business stuff and love myself and love my wife. And I was reading this Bill Walsh book. I'm still reading it. I love stuff like that. 11 Rings, George Mumford's books. Bob Iger had a really awesome book that I really liked. Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, the guy that created Nike. Like, I love this stuff. And there's a book about Bill Walsh and his leadership style. And I cried reading the introduction to the book. Because I so love the process that the author talked about that they went through to write the book. And I love reading stuff from Coach K and Phil Jackson and these people who have entered these realms of leadership, because I love to learn. And a lot of times the books that I've read, it hasn't really even taught me anything, but it's just resonated, where it's stuff like, I know this in my spirit. And so a lot of times we don't pursue these things that we really love and enjoy because we try and figure it out, right? You don't have to figure it out. And I want to show you guys in this journey of mine how quickly things change when you really start to love yourself and you start walking in these things that you love and enjoy. And when there's a number of us who start to walk in things that we're really made for, that we really love, that we really desire, I just believe that there's going to be this huge transformation in the world, because there's going to be so much more peace and joy instead of this animosity that's been created in the world because these people are against these people and these people hate these people. And it doesn't have to be like that. But the way that you change the world, this makes so much more sense to me now, is to be the change that you want to see. So if you want more peace and love and joy and authenticity, well, then you need to tap into peace, love, joy, and authenticity. So I would encourage people that actually want to change. There's 3 things I can recommend in this video that I think would make a significant impact on people. 1, get outside. Go on a walk, be outside, listen to the birds. Like, this stuff is all really good for your nervous system. And just starting to get outside consistently. And I hear some people, I live in a winter climate. I do too. And I still plan, well, at the moment I do. I still plan to get outside. To just be in nature. It's good for us. The second thing is there's 2 books. The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I'm like 30% through this book. And I already can see how this is a book that's just going to change my life significantly. And so I suggest that as a book for people who want to make a meaningful change in their life. The other book that's going to make you think about your life is a book called The Midnight Library by a guy named Matt Haig. Never in a million years did I think I would ever read a book like that. And my wife had suggested it to me 2 years ago. But, because it was a book my wife read, I was like, yeah, whatever. And I had a couple people in a bookstore suggest that I read the book. And I got it. And it's a book that really will make you think, what am I doing with my life? It's time that we change the world for the better. But in order for that to happen, it's not this external thing that's going to change the world. It's what's inside of you. And so there's 3 things that you can do today that I believe will make a meaningful impact on your life. And it's a process. And you're going to wake up doing it day after day after day after day after day. But just imagine the transformation in the earth in 5 years, where a bunch of us grab hold of this, make that change. The world is going to be an incredible place. It already is, but even more so.